Oops. Sorry, there we go. Okay, I'm on YouTube now. I'm in Vancouver, Canada. So where are you from? Hi, Tash. I was just sewing for the last 2 hours. I'm making my daughter's wedding dress, so I was just sewing. And it's good to be back at my desk. Oakland, California. I was going to say I think I've been there, but no, I've been to Oakville, Ontario. I don't think I've been to Oakland, California, unless I was driving through. So where are you from? It's not, the numbers aren't turning up. It's weird. I'm on here, right? Can you hear me? Because the numbers aren't turning up. It's a glitch there. San Francisco. Oh, Oakland. Yeah, no, I've been to Oakland. There we go. Okay, the numbers just turned up. Yeah, I've been to Oakland. I was thinking LA area, but yeah, no, I've been there. Okay, so where are you from? I usually wait till I get about 100, but what time is it? Yeah, I don't know if it's summertime too. I can't predict how many people are going to turn up. Okay. The other day I turned up and I had white powder on my nostrils. I was making protein powder drink and I guess I'd gone like that. So it didn't look too good for my image. I mean, I had a lot of it too. It was all this white. I didn't even think about how it must have looked until afterwards, or else I would have saved it. I thought that was pretty funny. Okay, so where are you from? Oh my goodness, there's 13 on here. So I'm not going to wait till I get 100. I think I'll just get going anyway, because I usually just wait for about a minute. Anyway, what time? Why would there be so few? I guess it's that time of day. You're either having dinner or you're away on holidays with your kids. And anyway, if you go on the link there, you can see everything I've got to offer you guys in my business. And that is my free behavior board. That's in the link. Also my parenting courses and also parenting coaching. So I sound a little bit off. I was just sewing. My daughter's getting married and I'm making her wedding dress. And just got sewing head. When I sew, I completely lose track of time. Like I'm just all drugged feeling. I find it very meditative. So that's why I seem a little bit dopey. Anyway, so parenting questions. Let's get going here. Hey, my son refuses to do anything I ask. He fights me tooth and nail. Help. Okay, so that just means he doesn't respect you. You got to work on your leadership skills. Remember that kind of stuff, disrespect and all that snottiness, that just means that you're not a leader. So work on your leadership skills. That's all I teach. If you want to go up in the link above, you can download my free behavior board. It starts at the age of 3. I have a whole course on how to get respect if you're interested in that, or you can hire me for one-on-one coaching. And you can just keep watching. Lots of people get results just watching me. I'm on here every day doing lives. And you can just look at my videos, watch this, or download my free behavior board. Or you can buy my courses or my coaching. Okay. And that's all I talk about is leadership. Thank you for making it free. I'm a single mom and on a fixed income. Yeah, my behavior board's completely free. It's just the start of all this, but there's a lot of, people are getting good results there. Neighbor, East Bay. Oh, is that San Francisco neighbor? Okay. I'm always curious when you guys are talking to each other. I'm always, what are you talking about? Tips on picky eaters, 4 and 7. My kids were picky, but they were just average picky eaters. Like they just didn't like everything. So I knew what they liked and I just cooked around that. So they had, and there was rules, like we didn't have junk food in the house. So they just had choices, this healthy food or that healthy food. But yeah, I just cooked around what they liked. But then I had a rule too, that every so often I'd introduce new stuff or stuff that I knew they didn't like and they had to try it. They didn't have to eat it though. They just had to try it. I really catered to that because I can remember not liking certain things. I can remember as a kid, I didn't like mushrooms, onions, or liver. I would eat onions and liver, but I did not like mushrooms at all. I love them now, of course, but yeah. So I can remember what it felt like to really not like stuff. They have extremely sensitive taste buds. So I kind of catered to that, but they didn't get junk food either. So, if you give your kids a lot of junk, like a lot of snacks, salty or sugary snacks, it alters their taste buds. They tend to get almost an addiction to that stuff. So it can alter, like they're going to be less interested in broccoli if they are used to eating a lot of salt and sugar. That's what I've heard anyway. I'm not a nutritionist, I don't know, but I've heard that. But my kids, they were so used to eating healthy at home, but whenever they went out, I'd say, sure, have at it, eat whatever you want, right? Because if you go out, I just figured whatever. And they'd come home from birthday parties with stomach aches because they weren't used to all that stuff, right? Oh, in the behavior board, can you put fighting with your sister, brother? No, you can't put no fighting. That's like saying get along. It's ridiculous. Like it's too big. It's like saying don't be rude, or it's too broad. You have to figure out why they're fighting. Yeah, that's almost coaching because I don't know why they're fighting. I don't know the age, the dynamics, and how you deal with it. So that's almost always coaching siblings fighting because there's so many different reasons why they could be fighting. But yeah, if you want to hire me, I might be able to help with that. But anyway, yeah, you can't put that on the board. I know I work with people and they'll put down something like they'll put down an attitude, and that's kind of an attitude, sort of. And they'll put down be polite and treat people with respect as the rule. That's like saying be a good human. I mean, it's too broad. You got to narrow it down an absolute niche, a real specific. It's usually an action, unless they are swearing. Then I'll put down or lying. Lying and swearing are two things I will put on the board. Well, what do you think is a result of a hover parent on kids? That's that helicopter parent stuff. It depends. That was an overused term for many years. Oh, you should never be a helicopter parent. But it was usually said by parents I thought weren't into safety either. They would take a lot more chances with their kids than I would. I'm a safety freak. I hover, I helicopter when it comes to safety, but I never would go into school and try and protect my kids from bullying or bad teachers or stuff like that. I taught them at home how to deal with that kind of stuff on their own. But when it came to safety, I was a helicopter parent for sure. Yeah, like I never let them go to public bathrooms alone or anything when they were under like 8 or 9, I guess. Just stuff like that. I was overly protective of when it came to safety. 21-month-old goes to bed at 7:30 and doesn't sleep until 9 and 9:30. Do they have naps? My kids both stopped napping at about 12 months old. They would have accidental naps, but they stopped regular naps at about 12 months old. So maybe they cut out the nap or get them up earlier in the morning. Figure it because they usually need a certain number of hours per night. Like I think toddlers, and they're all different. They might only need 8 hours in a 24-hour period, or they might need 12. Some need 14. So you figure out how many hours they're getting in a day and just make sure that they happen when you want them to. 7, 9 years old, but they fight all the time. Yeah, you're gonna have to hire me for that. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why they're fighting. Nearly 2-year-old cries and screams all day for her own way. Yeah, that happens. Toddlers are crazy. They just haven't developed any sanity yet. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're going to do stuff. Just make sure that never works. Never look like you're afraid of that stuff or they're going to keep doing it. Make sure you never reward it either. You can't really stop a toddler from crying and screaming, but it's the actions. If they're hitting, then you can restrain them. But yeah, they're just testing stuff out. It's usually just a stage. Don't show fear though. If you're trying to talk to them through it, it's these mini therapy sessions. As soon as you get involved in that kind of stuff and you start talking to them through it, it's going to get worse. So yeah, I know the mini therapy sessions are super trendy right now, but they're just garbage. That's for you, not your toddler. They're just garbage. They're not for toddlers at all. They're tuning you out. She goes to daycare and they put her to nap. Okay, well, maybe get her up earlier in the morning. I don't know. My kids, they were 3, and neither one of them napped at kindy. In Australia, where I raised my kids, they were 3 and they started at what they called kindy. Then they went to preschool, then grade 1. They didn't have kindergarten there. It was kindy, preschool, grade 1. So anyway, they were 3 years old. Neither of my kids napped. And the rule was they darkened the room. They went down in the basement because it was hot there and in Australia. So they went down to the basement on these little cots, and then the rule was turn out the lights. So they went about, and I said, look, my kids aren't going to sleep, but they're really well behaved. They'll just lay there in the dark. So it got to the point the teachers felt so sorry for my kids. They let them sit somewhere else with a little light and they could read. They felt sorry for them because they were just laying there in the dark. So they never slept in kindy. But yeah, they just laid there. Because I never would say, treat my child differently. Like I wouldn't have said, can you please let them read? They did that. My 3-year-old boy switched from sweet to stubborn overnight. Yeah, that happens at 3. If you're a leader, that doesn't happen. If you're not a leader, when they hit 3, they find their power. That's why they're on the behavior board. That's when they can start to reason and think things through. You know what they just thought? Hey, you're not in charge here. I think I will be. They just found their power. They often do that at 3. It's like a switch flips. Oh, you're asking about nephews. I only teach parenting. I don't teach aunt or uncling. Should children under the age of 3 be made to take naps? I just said that. No, my kids didn't. At about 12 months old, they both stopped napping. So how about at 15? For what? Naps? Uh, I specialize in teenagers. That's how I started my business. They're my favorite age. And I was just talking to a client this morning, and I was saying that one of the reasons why teenagers are my favorite age is they've got such brain power. They're like, I think at 18 is when your brain is at its like most powerful. Plus they're fresh. They don't have all the baggage and history like we do. So when something comes at them, something happens in their life, they tend to have a really fresh way of looking at it and dealing with it. And I find that fascinating because their brain power, they haven't got wisdom or experience yet, but they're just so smart. I just find them fascinating. If you're not learning when you're raising your kids, you're missing out. They're going to teach you a lot about the world because we tend to see things through our own rose-colored glasses or brown-colored glasses, however you look at the world. But we tend to look at the world through our own history and our own experiences, whereas they don't really have a lot of that yet. Yeah, you got stepkids and everything. That's coaching. I can't explain that here. That's complicated. How do you organize and get systems in place and deal with other people's kids and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's complicated. That if you want my help, you'd have to hire me for that. I have it in my bio. You said, I regulate my 2-year-old. I don't know how anyone would regulate a 2-year-old. I don't know what you mean by that. I've never heard of that being done, but anyway. No, going from sweet to stubborn. Yeah. Do you think there's a parent this is so afraid of their kid getting hurt, damaging? Do you think as a parent that is so afraid of their kid getting hurt is damaging? I don't know how old they are, and I don't know what you're doing. So are you protecting them from going out in the world and having fun? And if so, what fun are you protecting them from? Is it safe? Is it dangerous? Like you got to decide your own threshold of what you think safe and what isn't. Yeah. What's your opinion on co-regulation and tantrums? I think that's ridiculous. There's no such thing. Yeah, it's ridiculous. That's my opinion. How do you deal with parents who always have sick kids and invite your family over without telling you? Well, I don't know how to answer that. I don't know. You're asking me how to deal with other adults that their kids, and yeah, I don't have an opinion on that. Why does my 6-year-old granddaughter? You're asking about granddaughters. I only teach parenting. Sorry, I'm just flying through some of these. Missed your lives for a week. Thank goodness you saved your lives on YouTube. Yeah, all my lives are on YouTube. How do you deal with a 2-year-old that refuses to get dressed? I would just get them dressed. Like what I mean is I physically force them. I'm not beating them up or anything, but I know how to get pants on a 2-year-old who's kicking and screaming. So yeah, you just make it happen. So you propose just ignoring the crazy, right? Yeah, the crazy is the tantrum. That is, I could go on and on about that. That's the most controversial thing. I should do another tantrum video. Whenever I do a tantrum video, I always get a whole bunch of new followers. But it's like clickbait. And I do maybe one a month on tantrums. It depends on what comes at me. Like a lot of people want, if you want me to do another tantrum video, I've done tons of them on there. But my best story when it comes to tantrums is the swing story. I've just told it so many times. If you want to hear the swing story, I can tell you why you ignore tantrums. In that story, I got 2 stories, the mall story and the swing story. The swing story was with 2-year-olds. The mall story is a 3-year-old. But yeah. I just meant, would you not take your little kids over to someone's house when their kids are sick? Absolutely not. I wouldn't take them over. No, no way. No freaking way. It's ridiculous. I never had any friends who wouldn't have told me because they respected, why would you? I remember once though, I went with this friend, we went somewhere and she had 2 kids and I had 1 at the time, or 2. I had 2, she had 2. No, she had 2, we each had 2, whatever. Their third one came along later, I think. And they all, that same night, they all had stomach flu. No one gave it to anyone. We were just out at the same play center or something. Oh my God. Oh, it was awful. I don't take mine over. Oh, I want to comment on this. I don't take mine over to someone's house if they're sick, and apparently that's not a popular opinion. Who gives a crap? Like, what I mean is, so if it's popular or not, that's my kids. I'm doing what I want with my kids. I would never apologize for that. Yeah, you got sick kids. I'm not coming over. But why? Crazy Lisa. I don't explain myself. I don't care what's popular. I do what's right. I do what I think's right. So you ignore name calling when a 4-year-old gets upset. A 4-year-old's a little bit different. Plus, if they're doing it during a tantrum, I don't address that so much. It's when they just get mad at you and then they name call. I would say no name calling on the behavior board. That's in my bio there, the link to the behavior board. No name calling. Or just say no rude words. What's a consequence for a 3-year-old acting out and spitting? Just look on the behavior board, a whole bunch of ideas in there. Yeah, whole bunch of ideas in there. The behavior board's free. It's up there. What types of punishments do you believe is appropriate for children age 4 and under? They usually help with chores. You always have 2 punishments or disciplines or consequences for children on the behavior board. And you always have 2 because the first one is a positive action. You get them to do something. They do something bad. You get them to do something good to make it up, right? So the punishment doesn't always have to fit the crime. It can just be helping you with the chore, doing laundry, whatever, helping you do that, or they can wash a window, whatever. Pick up dog poop's a good one, clean out the litter tray, stuff like that. If they won't do that, or if they don't do it in the time allotted, you always time everything, right? Or else they're just I was going to do it later. Too late. Time's over. Anyway, if they won't do that, then you resort to the negative deprivation. This is where a lot of parents mess up, is they say, okay, fine, 24-hour media blackout if you won't clean up the kitty. You didn't clean up the kitty litter within 10 minutes of being asked to do so. So now it's 24-hour media black. Okay, I'll do it now. And this is where parents say, okay, no, there's no way, no way, no way. Even if they run and do it, say, well, 24-hour media blackout's already started. Once you've said you're doing the next one, make it happen. A lot of parents backtrack. So in other words, you don't mean what you say. You're not a leader. They pick up on that stuff. I can't find the behavior board. It's right up top there in the link. It doesn't say behavior board. It just says link. Something, link tree, I think it's called. I can't remember. But it's the only link there, I think. Isn't it ignoring like the silent treatment? I got too many ideas, too many things I want to say to that. Every time I have too many directions to go in. No, it's not the same at all. The silent treatment is when you just go on and on and on. It's like silent treatment is when it's a very immature thing to do. This is just, you're ignoring the crazy, rewarding the calm. They will learn. You're right there. You're not talking on the phone or anything. You're right there filing your nails or doing the dishes. You're just going about your business. The silent treatment usually lasts longer and you're not communicating anything. This is communicating. Also, a tantrum is not bad behavior. It's a total loss of control over not getting what they want, when they want, and how they wanted it. There's no way I would give that any attention. No way. I'm not feeding it. Any attention, including eye contact, is tantrum food. So yeah, it's just different. Oh, I want to go on about that, but I'll stop. What do you do when your toddler screams so loud your ears ring? I would just calmly walk away every time they do it. I would just very calmly, slowly and calmly. Well, you're asking the impossible. 2-year-old talks so loudly during dinner and wants to be the loudest. Why? I don't know. I can't figure toddlers out. No one can, by the way, because they're crazy. They haven't formed yet. They don't do things through. You can't figure them out because they're not figure outable. They act on urges. And they just will do stuff. Like, I can't figure out why they would stick their hands down their pants and smear poop on the wall either. If you can figure that one out, maybe you can figure that out. They don't make any sense because they haven't got sanity yet. They haven't formed yet, okay? They're brand new, fresh human beings. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years and for one of those you were a potato laying on a mattress. They're just one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. Don't try and figure them out. Just ignore stuff you don't like when it's stuff like screaming and that, and they'll eventually stop doing it. If they were screaming so loudly to get attention, I would probably very calmly talk to someone else or just look away. That's what I'd probably do. And then as soon as, you got to be quick though, because as soon as they start to talk nice and I go, yes, so you reward the calm, not the crazy. But it takes them ages. They don't learn right away. Toddlers don't stop and think. No one can figure out toddlers so accurate. Yeah, if anyone can. Some people claim to, and I've been sent stuff. I don't read stuff from other people anymore. I used, but years and years and years ago I used to. And yeah. And some of my clients are child psychologists. They can't figure toddlers out. So I'm not saying a link for the behavior board. It's right up in the bio. Should be. Every day people download that. So I don't know why. Is there something wrong? Check it out right now. So I'm just checking it here. Has anyone else had problems with it? Because it could be a glitch. Maybe something's gone wrong with it. Whenever I'm doing a live on YouTube here, it takes up my computer, so everything's super, super slow. I'm just checking that my behavior board is in my bio. That's all I'm doing here. Linktree Bratbusters. It says be cautious. It is safe. Yeah, there it is. Free behavior board. So it's there. It's at the very bottom. So it looks like, I'd show you, but then you can see where I live. It looks like it just has Bratbusters Parenting. It's not my website. It's just, I put everything in bullet form. It's just easier for you to look at it. So it's got my courses, and then at the very bottom, it has free behavior board. Yeah, it's there. Potato laying on a mattress, yeah. Got it. Okay, good. What do you recommend doing for the no phase? You ignore it. Yeah, you just ignore the no and you take action. I don't repeat myself. If I say to do something and it has to be done and it's doable, like, I'm being fair and reasonable. And if they say no, I would never try and force a kid to do something. I would just make it happen. And then there'd be a consequence. Like with an older child, if 3 years old and over, there'd be a consequence. Well, you chose not to do that, so we're all going out for ice cream tonight and you're not getting any. Something like that. I would just do that. They learn very quickly who's in charge. Like, oh, 5, yeah. Very, very quickly they learn. But start with my behavior board and pick one rule that you want them to follow. And that's how, see, a lot of what I tell you to do on here, without the system, the behavior board, it's kind of all over the place and it's hard to focus on everything because people want to focus on, they want the rainbow. You got to go through the storm, and the storm is one rule per week, one rule per week, one behavior board per week. You do 3 behavior boards. You're learning how to lead and they're watching. They're starting to see a shift in you. So you only pick one rule per week. But a lot of people think, okay, what she does is she does this. Then you apply it to everything they do wrong. It's too much. It's overload. You won't be able to do it. It's just too much. You got to ease it. It's like working out. You don't just go and do a full out workout in the first day. You ease in. I used to teach fitness too. People always did this. They'd do 3 weeks. They'd join the gym. Then they'd do 3 weeks going crazy. And then they'd get injury, and they'd get burnout and never come back. So I said, no, you got to ease into it. It's like that with this too. That's why it's 3 weeks of behavior boards. You start to feel a difference. You start to understand what you're doing. Well, and you stick with that, right? So when you go get ice cream, you stick with not letting them get any? Oh, goodness, yes. That just wouldn't happen. Now, this is a serial no kid who says no all the time. Okay, really rude. And I say, I tell you what, that's fine. You can say no, but tonight we're all going out for ice cream. And because of that, you're getting none. Do you understand? It's going to be one hell of a scene. But the bigger the scene, the bigger the rainbow, the bigger the fit, the bigger the tantrum, the bigger the lesson. You got to be willing to go through that. That's what I would do. But if you're not comfortable doing that, it wouldn't bother me at all. Like, you keep saying no to me, you're being that disrespectful. So there you go. I'm going to teach you a lesson. It's not how I teach it in the course or in coaching, though. That's just a quick thing to do. That's more in the moment discipline. That's week 4 in my course, because that's in the moment discipline. To just start there, if you've got no respect, it's tough. I would do it, but I'm level 10 with what I teach. You're just learning. So yeah, could backfire if you're not comfortable doing that one. That's a big one. That's a big one. There we go. These consequences hurt me more. Like, I want them to have. You're the pleaser parent. Yeah, I don't do that. It hurts you more. It hurts you more to make them nice. You're right. Yeah, it doesn't hurt me to make kids nice and polite. It doesn't hurt me at all. It hurts me more to let them be rude. I find that I don't call it child abuse, but I've had clients who say, I get it. Allowing kids to be rotten is child abuse. And I don't put it that way, but I think it's kind to raise nice kids. I consider this kind. I consider this kindness. Discipline is kindness. Not disciplining children is mean, because no one's going to like them. They're going to be, the teachers, every time the teacher sees them, the teacher's going to be going, oh God, here they are again. Like, you know what I mean? There's no kindness in raising rude children. Oh, is this lesson good for a 3-year-old? No, that was a 5-year-old. A 3-year-old, you can't say we're going out for ice cream tonight and then you go, it's too far away. No, look at my behavior board, start there. That's a big one for a 5-year-old. Go look at the behavior board. Honest questions. Does a 3-year-old understand wrongdoings? Yes, and so can a 1-year-old even. But they don't remember it. They can understand in the moment they shouldn't do that. But the 3-year-old is able to reason and understand consequences. They are able to go, if I do that, I might be mopping the floor later, that kind of thing. They can understand, they can stop and think before they do it. A 1-year-old, 2-year-old, not so much. No, they know it's wrong, but they do it anyway. So that's the difference. Okay, good comment, E. I feel like I deal with many self issues because of the way my parents treated me as a kid. That's coaching. I deal with that a lot. A huge portion of one-on-one coaching with my clients is dealing with their own stuff. It's a huge part of it. I'm not a therapist or anything, but my clients tell me, yes, you are, because that's a huge part of what I do. But I'm not trained in any way. I just have experience with kids and parenting and all that. Anyway, yeah, it's a huge part of it. Is, it's easy for me to tell you what to do, but if you haven't got your own self straightened out and figured out, if you're not strong enough to do it yet, something's getting in the way. Because often I'll say, I don't always ask, because I don't need a lot of background information. I need a little bit, but I don't need a lot. Sometimes I do. If you're not following through in what I'm telling you to do with your kids, I'll say, how are you parented? And they often break down because so if there's a block, something that's blocking the progress, then we'll go back and look at stuff like that. But yeah, it happens every day. Okay. Is it normal for an 11-year-old boy to get moody, snappy? How long will this last? About maybe 7 to 10 years. Not really. They do get moody, but they don't need to get snappy. They get snappy if you don't know when to leave them alone, give them their space. Yeah, completely normal. They're very hormonal. Usually boys, if I'm hired with teenagers, with boys, it's a lot of the time it's 15. And I mean just turned 15, like 14 and 9 or 10 months or 15. That's when their hormones really seem to kick in. Some are younger, some are older. With girls, it's 12 to 16. But it can start at 9. So 9 to 12 is a tween or a preteen, and hormones can kick in or start to kick in then. So yeah, they can get moody. It's the snappy part. You got to know when to walk away. And you do something like this. You never, if they're getting snappy with you, you never say this. Never say, we'll talk about it when you calm down. That's an accelerator. It's very insulting. It's passive aggressive. I think it's mean. You just say something like this, tell you what, we'll talk about it later, and walk away. Don't blame them for it. Yeah, you don't want to use accelerators. Whenever I'm dealing with parents with kids who are older, like, turning like hormonal and all that, I say, it's not about being right. It's about being a leader. Leaders don't worry about being right. They worry about getting results. They worry about giving and getting respect. You don't do it by being right. Don't be a right fighter. Good luck with your teenagers if you are. Good luck with that. Okay. My favorite age is teenagers. I started my business specializing in teen crisis work, and but yeah, teenagers. It's your parenting changes in the teen years. So don't. A lot of parents make this mistake, and they keep parenting the same way. When as soon as you start to see them maturing and their hormones starting to kick in, they're starting to get a little bit moodier. You got to start to shift your parenting around. Okay, I won't get into that unless you're interested. It's very similar from a 3 to a 12-year-old. That's why my course is 3 to 12-year-old. It's similar. I explain the differences as they get a bit older, but it's similar. 13, especially around there, that's when it really starts to change. Okay. Thank you very much for the roses and gifts. We don't get paid here in Canada for TikTok. I know a lot of people do, but I really appreciate your gifts. But yeah, people ask me, oh, are you getting rich on TikTok? No, we don't get paid in Canada for TikTok. Um, do you offer counseling or one-on-one classes? I coach. I'm a parenting coach. If you're interested, it's in the link above. It's called Linktree Bratbusters, and everything's on there. Help. Toddler boys, or I don't usually see blue hearts. Toddler boys are very aggressive and hurting us and each other. Yeah, well, how old are they? I need to know that. So it's Kelly. How old are they? The mood change. Okay. Is there a particular age range you prefer? Okay, I'll answer that. So you mean in coaching? Is there in coaching or that I like? My favorite ages there's two of them with my parenting. Newborn and teenagers were my favorite parenting ages. With coaching, I would say my least favorite situation is a mom who's home with her kids and has a toddler and a newborn. That's my least favorite dynamic to work with. Do you know why? Because she's restricted in what she can do. She's got this newborn, she's emotional. I can't give her all the advice I would love to because it's restricted. So I have to be very sensitive to that, and I can't give her I can't load as much on her as I'd like. I have to hold back. Therefore, I don't feel I'm getting the results I would like, but it's just part of the dynamic. If you've got a toddler and a newborn, physically, there's only so much you can do. And they're both very physical, and they have very different physical demands. So that's actually my least favorite. I don't know if I put it my least favorite, but it's the most frustrating because that's the one where I feel like I get the worst results. But then I get the results that you're capable of getting when your hands are kind of tied, right? So, and my favorite by far to work with is it my favorite? The most rewarding is teen crisis work, life and death stuff. That's the most rewarding. That's where I started my business doing that. That's the most rewarding by far. They are 2 and 3. Was that the ones fighting? Shoot, I forgot what your question was. I got to go back now. I do this all the time. What age are they? And then I forget the question because my brain goes, okay, toddler boys very aggressive and hurting each other. Just start separating them. They're 2 and 3. Make sure they each have things to play with. Don't throw them in the mix and they just got to fight over the same toys. You got to set them up for success, not failure. And if you just have a toy room and they're going to be fighting over toys, that's not good. You want to have them each having different things that they can do and separate them if necessary. Now, what I mean by separate them might be 2 coffee tables What I mean by that is if you just say you're on this side, you're on that side, it's not going to work. But two coffee tables often are long enough; it's harder for them to get around. Um, I got a million different ideas with that. It's a lot of physical stuff, but yeah, it's very exhausting because the 2-year-old only understands so much. Um, yeah, I don't know. I want to go in a million different directions, but it's like my mind's kind of every time I get too much in here that I want to spit out, I get frustrated because I don't know exactly what you need. That's the thing. In coaching, I tell you, I know you, but in here, I don't know exactly what your dynamic is, what's going on at home. Do you offer counseling? Oh, sorry. Okay. The mood change. Okay, the mood change it's a chemical reaction, right? Like think about if you're a woman, think about the mood changes. They just uh hmm. I want to talk boys, I want to talk girls. Hormones are flying and their brain chemistry is changing. They are becoming problem solvers, they're becoming more independent, they're becoming sexually aware, they're getting crushes and they're getting confused and they're getting frustrated. There's a lot going on in their brain and their body. And it throws them off. You can't always reason with them. You got to know when to walk away. You can't always reason with them. And when you do walk away, just say, we're going to talk about this later, okay? Never, 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 never say, as soon as you calm down, we can talk about it. I hear this all the time from parents. And the most important thing I think with teenagers is parents argue with me on this and they say, yeah, but I'm right. And I say, so it's not about being right. It's about being a good leader. It's about getting results. It's about building the bond with that teenager. And but I'm right. I hear this all the time, all the time. Yeah, I know. I know you're right. We both know you're right, but that's not what this is about. Life isn't like that. Being right, being a right fighter, um, it's not the way to go about life. Uh, autism, yeah, ASD, children on the spectrum. That's only in coaching, so that's one-on-one. It's all in the bio above. I have a link up there. It's all the information on what I provide is up in there. Yeah, that's me. I've got a toddler and I'm about to have a newborn. That is my most challenging situation. You know what we end up talking about is just how normal your struggles are. That's all. That's moms with a newborn and a toddler say that is what's helped them the most. It is just physically demanding, but it's temporary. You're going to look back on it and think, thank God that's over, but it's temporary. So it goes quicker than you would think. Just seems like it lasts forever. But yeah, that's the least rewarding for me. I get kind of frustrated. But then I know now it's more me mothering you and just explaining, that it's just frustrating. It's just difficult. Because a lot of parents think that they're failing when the toddler hates the newborn and tries to hurt them all the time. And then, what am I doing wrong? Nothing. You got a toddler and a newborn. That's normal. That's normal. What advice would you give for a situation where the preteen daughter definitely favors her father? I don't know what's going on there. How can I answer that if I don't know what's going on? Like are you slapping her around or like, I don't know why. I have no idea. I need context. You'd have to hire me and I'd have to assess the situation. And they might just be doing that to make you angry because maybe you are nagging them too much. Maybe the dad's the one that lets them get away with stuff. And I don't know. It goes so fast. It really does. Yeah, I miss the newborn and toddler stages. My youngest is 11. You'll look back on that and you think, geez, it flew. If you just accept the fact that it's going to be very physically demanding and potentially emotionally too, but it's less emotionally demanding when you understand that that's normal, that it is physically exhausting and demanding. And it's just part of it, but it just flies by. A lot of people say, oh God, I wish I could go back again. I didn't miss one fart or burp with my kids. I was there all the time. I was a stay-at-home mom. I didn't miss anything. I just wallowed in it. So it kind of went fast, but it didn't go too fast. What I mean by that is I didn't miss anything. I look back on all those years and I think I was there for everything. I was at school every day helping out. I went on every single field trip. I was just there for everything and I loved it. So I don't look back. And when I did enjoy parenting too. That helps. I loved it. It was fun. So I was having a blast. So as they were growing up, I just enjoyed each stage. I never look back with regret because I didn't miss anything. Like, you know what I mean? So don't try and rush it. Just wallow in it as much as possible. Two-year-old biting. Yeah, any two-year-old, any toddler that's getting aggressive, hitting, biting, screaming, whatever. I have a course on that if you're interested. It's one of my mini niche courses, and it's right in the bio link. It's Linktree. It's called Linktree. My daughter did this for me, actually. She goes, Mom, I hate my website. I hate working on it. She goes, no one wants to go to different tabs anymore. So she put everything in Linktree. It's just got bullet form. I'm looking at it right now. It's got everything in bullet form. Just makes it easier for you to see what I've got. Anyway, that's all there. Mini therapy sessions being popular now. Did you receive lots of judgment for that? For not doing them or talking about? Oh, judgment for calling them mini therapy sessions. It's kind of a nasty thing to do, but they drive me freaking insane. Mini therapy said, 2-year-olds do not need therapy sessions. They just don't. They don't need to discuss their big feelings. 2-year-olds do not need to do this. It's just absolutely ludicrous. So do I receive lots of judgment? What do I care? The only people I care about is my clients, my parents, and kids. Kids react very well to everything I've done. They taught me all this. Why do I give a crap what anyone else says? Kids, teenagers, toddlers, hundreds of kids I've worked with, I get along great with them. It works. I can get respect. They're who I care about. Why on earth would I care what anyone else thinks? I just could care less. It means nothing to me. And I would say the most judgmental people that I've had on here, and I don't look at anybody else, but people have told me it's people who do not like what I have to say because they're teaching other stuff and they've come after me tooth and nail. Well, of course, they've driven my numbers up by doing that. So just don't realize that. And so, yeah, I kind of like their judgment. Yeah, actually. I'm going to tell you this because it's so funny. They're not doing it anymore. I think they figured it out. But for about the first year I was on here, every time my numbers would jump by about 30 to 50,000 in one day, it was because one of my competitors had done a duet criticizing everything I said in the video. They have big followings, some of them, like huge. And my numbers would fly up. I think they figured it out now. That's why I'm talking about it. But every time they'd criticize me, someone would tell me about it. And that's why my numbers went up. So, there's no point. There's room for all of us. It's okay. It's okay. There's room for all of us. It's like I'm a gluten-free health food vegan, but I'm not pro-vegan. Like you can sit right beside me and gnaw on a bunch of ribs. I'm probably going to drool over it, but I wouldn't touch it. But you see, it's okay to be different. It's okay. I'm wallowing in motherhood as well. It's very demanding and rewarding. It was the most fun I ever had. I miss it. But I'm old now, so kind of life sort of, you kind of change a little bit too. Like physically, I don't think I could do it again. I don't have the energy to bend. I got a bad back. I don't think I can pick up toddlers all day. I can't suggest a parenting book because I've never read one. So kids taught me all this. I learned everything I know. I've learned through kids. And when I was mentoring troubled teens, they said, you have to teach this, Lisa, because no one had ever talked to them the way I did. So they said, you got to teach what you do. So I ended up doing that. Anyway, my qualifications, I don't have any. It's all experience-based. So I don't have any formal qualifications. I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old. And the daycare workers would always put the difficult kids with me. And they kept asking me, how do you get such respect? And they still want to be with you all the time. I didn't know how to answer that. I think I was just kind of born to do this. Kids always made sense to me. I could usually figure them out. Anyway, I was about 20. I thought, I'm going to be a child psychologist. So I joined I signed up for a prerequisite course for university. And after a week, they kicked me out and they gave me my money back because I asked too many questions. What they were teaching was garbage. This is back in 1980. It was just trash. it was this higher, it was this, I'm smarter than you, this, it was so condescending. And I don't talk to kids like that. Anyway, so I argued with the teacher constantly. And then all the other students kept asking me questions. So they couldn't I should have held out. They would have given me double my money back to get rid of me. But then I realized it's not for me. I'm kid taught. I wanted kids to teach me all this. I went right to the source. So yeah, they taught me all this. And a lot of my clients, a huge portion are teachers, principals, school counselors, and child psychologists. A lot of my clients are. So experience is just, it's a different understanding of kids. But I couldn't teach or do any of those things. So we all have our specialty. I've never been hired by a youth worker, which makes perfect sense to me. Youth workers deal with troubled teens. If you can get respect from a troubled teen, you don't need my help. Like that's the PhD in all this. And they're the ones who told me to teach this. So the troubled teens. But yeah, anyway, that's my qualifications. If you want someone with formal qualifications, I'm not going to be for you. If I'm not resonating with you, there's other people out there who are completely different to me. You got to find someone who makes sense to you, what works with you. There's room for all of us. And if I don't resonate with you, then just move on to someone else who does. Because if you don't believe in what I'm saying, you're never going to do it anyway. So what's the point, right? Said I would have loved to have seen that. What, me get kicked out? I wasn't surprised because I kept saying, but that's so condescending. Kids aren't going to react very well to that. You're trying to set yourself up as smarter than them. That's not, I don't do that. I said I wouldn't do that. And they just said, well, we've got all these qualifications. What do you know? And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, we didn't get along. You were reading about tantrums from a book. No? I've never read a book on parenting or kids. No. You're talking to me? No. Said you should write a book. Yeah, one day I probably will. I'm waiting for a publisher to come at me and then I'll hire someone to write. I'll just dictate it all. I'm not good at writing. I like talking. I suggested my friend who she's a pleaser parent. You actually suggested me to your friend. I say that wrong all the time. Because what's funny is years and years ago I related, there was this old show on called Laverne and Shirley, and they ran into a celebrity and they said, oh, can you take our picture? They had the celebrity take the picture of them and the celebrity wasn't even in it. I would do that. I get stuff like that backwards all the time. So yeah, just reminded me of that. I get that backwards all the time. Okay, Hannah. Whenever I mention or ask my teen anything, he always thinks I'm against him or twisting at him. Okay, you're not wording things right. You got to figure out how to talk to teenagers. They are a different can of worms altogether. They're my specialty. They're my favorite age. But yeah, you're just not talking to them right. If you want to hire me, that might just be one session. I usually say teenagers are at least 5 sessions. But if it's just that, it might just take one session. If you want my help, you'd have to hire me. Because I don't know what you're doing now. Yeah, your daughter's right. Your site is much easier to navigate. Yeah, I hate working on my website. And I gave my website to someone else to work on once, and they put a backlink in there, I found out, and messed it up. So I'm shy of doing that. I'm terrified to do that again. How do you deal with a toddler who screams when you say no? I don't. Who screams when told no? I don't. Like, what I mean is that's none of my business. If you say no to a toddler and they scream, that's none of my business. Like, none of your business. That's their own process. You can't self-regulate a toddler. You cannot regulate a toddler. They do it themselves, and they do it organically through your calm leadership. They lean towards what works and they lean away from what doesn't. That's how they learn. They don't learn through words and mini therapy sessions and all that trash. I hate all that garbage. They lean into what works and they lean away from what doesn't. If screaming works and gets attention feeds that, by the way. then they'll keep doing it. It'll just keep getting worse and worse. People don't realize the free info you are giving. Goblet. I'm going to have to cut back on these. I do these every day. I admit I'm going to have to cut back. It's just a lot on me. I got a lot to do. So, but anyway, I just love doing it so much. It's like meditation for me. But I think I'm going to have to cut back. I might end up doing 1 or 2 lives a week eventually. I'd like to just get down to 1. But I miss it. If I miss a day, I miss talking to you guys. So yeah, I'll figure that out. I remember that show, Laverne and Shirley. Yeah, they were so goofy. I totally related so much of what they did because I'm really dopey with stuff like that. Like, I love that. The celebrity to take their picture. And then the celebrity walks away and they look at each other like, oh. My kids fight all the time. I don't know what age they are, so I can't answer that. You should feel really good when you help struggling teenager. Yeah, they're my favorite age. And the reason why is because I learned so much about the world through working with them and raising them. And you don't understand teenagers till you've lived with them and raised them. Unless you're a youth worker, then you got packs of experience. But yeah, living with a teenager is a whole different dynamic. And also, I would never take parenting advice from someone who hasn't finished the job. And also had tons of experience with other kids with all sorts of challenges. It is heavily experience based. It would be like taking financial advice from someone with $10 in the bank. I would only take financial advice from someone with millions of dollars in the bank because it is heavily like, you show me the results. Where's your experience based? Because that's what it is. It's people skills. It's just I know that there. I feel bad, kind of bad saying this, but there's a lot of probably, and I don't see who's out there. People tell me this. I wouldn't take advice from someone who just has young children. It's like an investment person who only has $10 in the bank. They don't know where they're going yet. They have no idea how they're investing, how that's going to pay off down the road. A lot of what's trendy and popular right now backfires big time. And they don't know that yet. Those are my clients later on. They figure that out and they go, oh, that didn't work. So yeah, make sure that if you're going to take parenting advice, make sure they have finished the job with their own kids. So they've lived with teenagers. They know where all this stuff goes. They know where they're headed. They know where it leads. They know how to finish, right? So that's number 1. The number 2 is they might have just had really easy kids. And so they have to have had experience with hundreds of other kids of all ages. And it's experience based. It just is. I can't imagine. Yeah. And, I get a lot of people who want me to train them to do this. And I don't do that. It's not, maybe one day I will. I can't, I'm only 62. I'm still young. I plan on working for at least another 20 years because I love what I do. But I say, well, you got to finish the job first. And if you haven't, then you can teach something like bedtime or potty training, something niche, something that isn't, you know what I mean? Like keep it niche down, but you can't teach general parenting unless you finish the job. How could you? How do you know where it's going to head? How do you know where it's going? You don't. So yeah, and I worry about this because I think you're just leading people astray. And I just don't think it's fair. I know your intentions are good, but I just don't think it's fair. Anyway, that's my spiel on that. I put in so many decades doing this. I know what it takes. Yeah. This reminds me, you're talking to each other here, but you're talking about getting a 2-year-old into the car seat. My friends and I used to laugh that we did karate chops on our kids because they go so stiff when they don't want to get in that car seat. They go like that almost. So you just put your hand on their belly, and as soon as they take a breath, you go, well, we used to call it the karate chop. You just push them in, snap them in really fast, and they don't even know what's hit them. They're like, woo. But yeah, you just have to wait it out. Just waiting. They have to take a breath eventually. The chop, yeah, the karate chop. There you go. I just hold him down and buckle him in. He stops the tantrum as soon as I shut the door. Yep, that's how it goes. And I always feel like whenever I do that with my son, my daughter never did that. He was the one who had tantrums. She never did. They either do or don't. Anyway, whenever I do that, I always felt like going, I win. I never did. I win. You're buckled in. Oh yeah, you asked me about nutrition. I'm not a doctor, so I don't comment on this. Like we cut out red dye 42 years ago, starting cutting out all dyes this past week. What do you think? I can't comment on that because I'm not a doctor or nutritionist or anything. But I do know, I'll tell you what I did with my kids. I just sort of had health food. Like we didn't have junk in the house. We didn't have really packaged foods. The only packaged foods I can think of was I'd buy like a lot of rice crackers. I love those. So we'd have that. But I didn't have, like I just made everything from scratch. So I was just kind of covering my bases. Whether or not that was the right thing to do, I don't know. I just, um, I'm just really into health food. And I didn't have any sugar or salty things really in the house, maybe more salt than sugar. But yeah, just sort of kept everything pretty healthy. I see these moms, I love watching cleaning and organizing videos, and they'll organize their whole pantry, and it's just packaged food, little mini things of cookies and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, there's an awful lot of hyped up food going in there, like, a lot of packaged stuff. I know it's convenient. I get that. It's easy. But yeah, my pantry didn't look anything like that. There's a lot of big bins full of ingredients that I had to put together. And also because when you do everything from scratch, I hate cooking, by the way, I can't stand it. But anyway, when you do everything from scratch, you have total control of what goes in there. You know how my kids, I remember once one of my kids said, their pizzas look different because their pizza sauce was red. Well, mine was always brown. Do you know why I made dough and all that from scratch, the pizzas from scratch? Do you know why? My pizza sauce was brown because it was full of spinach. I pureed spinach and vegetables and flaxseed and wheat germ into everything. Everything was different in our house. And they'd go to someone else's house and everything tasted different. Oh, their cakes are really weird. That's because they're not full of all the seeds and all the healthy stuff I throw in. So yeah, my kids didn't know any different. Like they just thought our food was normal. As they grew up, they realized it wasn't. Yeah, I hid all sorts of health. When you cook from scratch, you can hide anything healthy in there. When do you handle a 2-year-old that always says no? Just ignore it. I'm a chef. I'll cook for you. Yeah, I'm a gluten-free health food vegan, so good luck with that. Do you miss anything about your kids being younger and at home? I did when they moved out. Yes, I did. I missed them a lot. And but I'd wallowed in everything so much that I didn't feel I'd missed out. I think that's why a lot of people look back and regret because they missed out on stuff. They didn't enjoy it as much as they wanted to. They have regrets. I have no regrets, and I didn't miss anything, and I would do it all exactly the same. So it was kind of just, yeah, it was a natural progression. Plus, I'm in my 60s now, so, and I'm not a big one for regret. I don't have any regrets with my kids at all. I wallowed in it. I loved it. I would do it all the same. Do you still eat clean now? Yeah, I'm I'm way fussier now. I'm vegan. I'm a gluten-free health food vegan. So I'm not looking for vegan meats or anything like that. So yeah, I eat really weird. I'm boring. Like I eat very, very weird. No one can cook for me. Yeah, it's just the way I choose to eat. And if I don't eat like that, like every so often I'll have potato chips, which I love. And I just never feel good because my body's not used to it, right? Oh, but I do drink Diet Pepsi, Diet Coke. That's a poison, like as far as I'm concerned. And but yeah, I do drink that. So we all have something, right? And I don't preach it. It just works for me. I don't care how anyone else eats. My daughter she was a holistic nutritionist. That's her degree. And but yeah, she now eats meat because she was craving it. She was vegan for 7 years, and then she just was craving meat. And she really believes that your body tells you what it needs. So now she's eating meat, but she's very fussy about what she eats. My son's pretty healthy too. Do you help recover from severe childhood trauma or recommend therapist who does? Yes, I do, but I don't talk to kids. If you have a child who's been abused in every way imaginable, yes, I do deal with that. That's how I started my business with all that crisis work. But I always suggest you have the child seeing a therapist at the same time. I do parent-child relationships. I help you help them. So I have a few things that I go through. But anyway, yeah, I deal with all that horrible, awful, awful stuff. I remember years ago, I used to do a lot of TV and radio and that. I remember once I was introduced on the news that the 6 o'clock news, some kid had done something awful. And so they brought me on to discuss it. And they introduced me as the crisis queen. And I didn't like that. And they were very nice, but but they didn't know that that would turn me off. I don't want to be the crisis queen. I want to be the prevention queen. I like positivity, and I just felt like it just my whole image was sort of more about crisis work, and that's not really what I want to focus on. I really want the focus to be more on prevention, and happiness, and fun. And but in coaching, I do crisis work, yes, but I don't lead with that. I'm a solo parent, so was I. I was a single mom. Do you think it's harder? I think it's easier sometimes than with a partner. I don't know. I mean, I was still always the leader, and it didn't change much afterwards. He's a good dad, but I was always the leader and the stay-at-home mom, and so it didn't, and plus we always got along, so there was no friction with any of that with the kids, so that helped a great deal. I've worked with single parents, moms and dads, who found it easier, and others found it harder. So it's a lot harder if you're fighting with someone and you have different ideas about parenting. I would think that would be harder. I don't know what you're talking about. You asked me about something I don't know. Did you raise your children on your own? We divorced when my kids were 9 and 14, and he was still very much a presence in their life. So I didn't raise them alone, but they lived with me. But we didn't have any arrangements. It just all sort of happened. But I was always he worked a lot. He traveled and I was a stay-at-home mom. So things didn't really change a lot for the kids. But yeah, and we always got along. And that's the most important thing. Kids would rather you be divorced, getting along, than together and fighting. Like they never saw us fight before or after. That's why they were so shocked when we got divorced. And after we divorced, people out in the world still thought we were together because we turned up to everything together with the kids, right? So yeah. Who could help with an adult who's having childhood flashbacks? Yeah, that's psychology. That's you want to get some help with that. If it's negative, might be a positive. Is it bad to invent a fun sleep fairy that brings nice dreams only if she sees you sleeping? That's like saying, is it okay to talk about Santa and the Easter Bunny? I think that stuff's great. Tell you a cute story, and then I got to go. My daughter was maybe 8, I want to say, and she was out alone with her dad. And they come home and her dad's laughing. And he said, wait till you hear what she did to me. She said to him, Mom said the Easter Bunny isn't real. And her dad stupidly said, oh, well, now you know. She didn't. She was trying to trap him. So anyway, we were all cracking up over this. Like, it was just great. So then I said to her, so what about Santa? And she goes, oh, no, he's real. Like, I thought that was so cute. So yeah, I think all that stuff's adorable. Anyway, I got to get going. If you want to know more about, if you want my help, go up in the link above, and it has everything that I've got to offer up there. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep doing these every single day. I've got so much on my list that I should be doing, but I love doing these. But I think it's like I got to kind of cut back on these lives because they take up a lot of time, and also my talking energy. So. My mouth gets dry by the end of it because it's just me talking. Coaching's easier because you're talking too. But anyway, I got to go. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll be back again when I'm back.